This show about cannibals finally has everyone become a cannibal in the past, and as that happens, Misty continues to compensate for the rest of the modern day cast so that their side of things don't get left behind and become a liability. So, starting in the past as we usually do, at this point, enough is enough. Thaisa recognizes, as does Van, that Thaisa has issues. However, what she can't deal with is Shauna in this Jackie situation. And when she discovers that Jackie is posed like a doll, has makeup on her, and increasingly there are signs that Shauna may not be stable, she decides that it's time to properly handle Jackie's dead body. Now, just even bringing that up leads to Shauna getting very upset. Thais is very upset, but thankfully Lottie, who has not become any type of leadership position, but definitely has learned how to calm people down, she helps deal with the situation at hand, and eventually it's agreed that Jackie will be cremated. This leads to another minor issue in the fact that, Jackie has a warm jacket, she has clothes, underwear, all the kind of stuff which the girls could definitely use. But because Sean is so adamant about nobody touching her or taking her stuff away, it's decided she'll just die and get burned with her stuff on. And as these conversations are happening, both Natalie and Travis are coming back, and Travis is a bit in the mood because Natalie has tricked him into thinking that Javi is dead by cutting up some of Javi's pants, using some of her blood to make it seem like he was attacked, and with this, she is hoping that Travis will finally let go finding Javi. Lottie complicates this by saying that she still thinks that Javi is alive, and with that, you can see kind of the birth of her and her being Natalie and Lottie having a lot of issues that carry over into adulthood. But as with the whole Shauna situation, in time, all parties decide to let things go. But unfortunately, this piece, it definitely seems like it's going to be short-lived. For a while, Travis and Natalie, with Travis not thinking about Javi anymore, they have sex again, with Lottie showing up, but not in terms of Travis having sex with her or seeing himself having sex with her, but her just watching over him in some kind of ethereal way. You can tell that something's going on with him, and it's not clear what may happen between him and Lottie. But as was shown in the adult version, those two remained close even after they got back to civilization. But that aside, the main thing that is definitely going to be of interest in future episodes is that when it comes to Jackie's body getting burned, somehow her clothes went away in terms of her what seems like to be a leather jacket and everything else, and all that is seen is just naked body that's fully cooked because of the fire. And with the smell being so enticing, as before, we see that Sean is the first one to take a bite. She encourages everyone else to, and with that, everyone but Ben starts eating Jackie in this cooked state. And it leaves you to wonder, when it comes to Ben, is he going to be someone that causes further divide, or is he going to end up next for protesting against what the girls have already done? Getting back to that whole Natalie and Lottie issue, something that adds on to the beef that they have is that the night that Travis died, he called Lottie, and he was very distraught. And what Lottie says is that he wanted to tap into the other world for some kind of answers because he was having a psychotic break of some kind. So in order to try to help him, she joined him at that farm we saw him hanged at, and she was actually the person who pressed the button to raise him up after he set up the whole not symbolism, but the symbols and everything. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, after he passed out, the button that was supposed to lower him did not work. And then when you add in that Lottie got a vision of Laura Lee burnt up and demonic looking, the next thing that she knows is that Travis is hung way up in the air where we saw Natalie discover him, and Lottie, with being unable to do anything, she left. This doesn't sit right with Natalie. She's very upset, and then it leads to an explanation of why she was kidnapped, and now it's because Lottie was watching Natalie, saw that she was about to put a gun in her mouth, so her people acted as they did and kidnapped her and brought her to the compound. all of this explanation does nothing for Natalie, really. She still has a vendetta against Lottie, and pretty much she seems poised to try to destroy her and this whole cult that she has going on, one way or another. Speaking of destroying someone's life, Taissa and Simone are still on the outs, and what doesn't help is that Sammy's caught in the middle, and with Sammy coming to Taissa's house, and Taissa letting Simone know, that leads to Simone coming over and it being learned that Sammy was never there. He's still at school, and that when Taissa and Simone go to pick him up, it seems like the dark side of Taissa made it so that they would get into an accident and make sure that Simone got the brunt of it, but it's hard to say if that was what was intended. We do see multiple instances of the episode, both in the past and present, of this demonic thing that is part of Taissa's life showing up, and even this weird mirror moment that happens, but whether or not this was an accident or intentional or not, we won't know until the next episode, hopefully. Going down the list, because everybody got issues when it comes to modern times, Callie continues to be a character that you're meant to love to hate. And as much as you see that Shauna's trying to get back into Callie's good graces, and maybe Callie does want to protect her mom in some way when Kevin comes around and starts asking questions, at the same time, Callie needs an outlet, and it's very much clear that Kyle, her now ex-boyfriend, is not going to be that person. So when she goes to a bar masquerades as a college student and talks up this guy named Jay, she opens up a bit, and what she doesn't know is that Jay is actually a man named Matt, who is Kevin's co-worker, and with Callie confessing about her mother's affair, she is starting to give the type of evidence that Matt needs in order to put Shauna away. But this is all assuming that Misty doesn't end up killing Matt, because we know how Misty is. But before Misty can even focus on what's going on in Shauna's life, especially as the police come in, she's focused on not only trying to get Natalie out of wherever she is, which is, we know, the Lottie's compound, but Misty doesn't know that yet. But Misty has to also deal with Walter, who is the guy who's really focused on the Adam investigation that Misty has been trying to shut down. So when she asks for help, Walter offers it in exchange for her to stop crapping on his post, and when she says no, he decides to show up to her place of work with what we assume is his mother, and he makes it very clear that he has gotten somebody who may have information on what happened to Natalie, and all she has to do is just show up for the interrogation. Now, whether or not she takes him up on this, which she probably will, that's something we can't say, because Misty's still very much a wild card that you can't really make much in the way of expectations for. So the first highlight to me has to be that Walter is a similar kind of crazy to Misty, and I don't know if that's going to lead to a relationship, a friendship, or some type of friendly rivalry, or maybe them becoming enemies, but there's a chemistry there that I definitely think is volatile, and I know for a fact Misty's going to kill somebody else, and it's going to be interesting to see if she tries to kill Walter and perhaps fails, and maybe they even try to kill each other, or if something bigger may happen. Either way, Misty still is very much the anchor for the adult version of these characters, and I hope Christina Ricci's being paid for all her efforts. The second highlight for us is just when it comes to this Adam murder case between Walter and Matt, it's starting to gain some interest. Walter, because with how good of a detective he seems to be, and then you have Misty factored in, he brings a lot to this case and what it can and may end up being. But there's also Matt. Matt is of interest to me because with him exploiting Callie, who pretended to be this college girl, but we know she's only 16 or so, it's going to be interesting to see if this could potentially change this character who's so easy to hate to be someone that you're sympathetic for. I think sometimes it's easy to forget that Callie is someone who, yes, her parents aren't divorcing and completely destroying her world, but watching them just be normal while the mom had this very big time affair that led to someone dying, and yet they're acting so normal, it has to be a bit discombobulating. And you can see her wanting some kind of justice, something that shows that the world is still normal after dealing with so much that really just destroyed her world in a way. So hopefully Matt can be that character that allows you to give Callie some kind of grace. So the next highlight for us is Lottie and just everything she could potentially bring to the show. For one, you have what Natalie can get from her in terms of having someone to latch on to that makes her character more than this rebel without a cause who has all this guilt and other issues that pretty much has made the character seem kind of stale unless she's attached to someone far more interesting than she is. But setting that aside, there's also the whole Van situation, because Van hasn't come into play yet, and considering that Van was one of Lottie's early followers, it should be interesting to see if Van became an escapee from Lottie's camp. Maybe she's trying to expose her, or maybe she's still part of it in a way. It's just we haven't seen her yet. Either way, as it's made clear that Lottie is just as much a spiritual leader as she is this rich girl who grew up with everything, and that kind of shows in how she treats one of her minions at one point, it's going to be very fun to watch Lottie unravel before us, either because of exposure or else her doing confessions. The next highlight for us is that when it comes to Taissa potentially harming someone on purpose, it makes it feel like we're slowly but surely starting to get to the point where we may actually learn something about this demon that haunts Taissa's family. Now, I'm not saying it's going to come in the next episode or the episode after that, but at the very least, it seems that Taissa is going to have to recognize that something's wrong, and whether Van is going to be the one to bring it out, or maybe we finally get to see Taissa's family, specifically the black side, and them talk about all the occult stuff that happens to them, we may finally get some answers. The last highlight for us is just the cannibalism beginning, because let's be real, that's probably one of the big things that kind of sold this show. Never mind, some of the notable names of the actors, but with the cannibalism happening in the past, it keeps the 1996, maybe 1997 at this point, characters definitely to the forefront of the show. And it also reminds you that, hey, there's a lot of characters like Mari, Akila, and others who we have not seen in modern times. So it adds on to that mystery of who lived, who died, and on top of that, how did they die and why? Because part of it we know is because survival, but whether or not people got picked specifically to get killed or not, and who decided they should die is definitely a point of interest, but we'll find out what happened, hopefully within this season or at the latest the next one. Which leads to the on the fence topic. While we are making baby steps in order to show how things became the way they are in terms of why the cannibalism started, we're seeing, again, Taissa deal with her demons more and more, but we're still not necessarily getting answers. We're given more reasons and things to question, which is to a certain point fun, but I don't know about you, but I don't want Yellowjackets to drag this all out. This show at best can maybe do 4 good seasons, 3 if it's smart, but it can't keep allowing, especially for the adult versions, for them to not have the kind of stuff that keeps them on level with the young people. Because from what it seems, they're already teasing, perhaps in this season, the 1996-1997 crew actually getting back to civilization this season. So I don't know about you, but maybe they can do like 1 year or 1 season showing a readjustment to civilization after they brutalized each other and stuff like that, but you can't keep this going forever. This is not a show that can go 7, 8, 9 seasons or anything like that. So I'm hoping between the occult stuff, the demonic stuff, all the mysteries involved, we really start to make some progress and not just hold on to the season finale in order to get any type of good answers. Overall, Yellowjackets begins to feel a little less lopsided and more equal between past and present, thanks to characters like Walter, Lottie, and also Matt in terms of what they can bring to the show. And I would even add in that with them, you can start to see the potential for additional characters being introduced, as well as when it comes to Matt's situation with Callie, perhaps some grace given to old characters who you may have already written off to a point.